After the Hollywood strikes that affected many projects throughout 2023, as well as studio layoffs, many of the promised releases this year have been pushed back or canceled outright. However, there's still plenty to look forward to across all genres. So we've decided to compile a list of the films we are looking forward to the most. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. At no cost to you, every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. We've also officially launched our merch store, linked in the description. So be sure to check that out. We thank you for your support. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are our top 10 most anticipated movies of 2024. Number 1, Dune Part 2. Kicking off just a short time after the first film ended, this film looks as it will follow young Paul Atreides as he continues his journey and grows into the king he is supposed to be, according to the prophecy. Seeking revenge on the conspirators that destroyed his family, he also wants to prevent a terrible future that he's been having visions of. However, not all is well either, as many have begun to disbelieve in him being the chosen one, and his enemies begin to build stronger alliances, many fearing the power of a full-on revolution. As they say, the spice must flow. Scheduled for release March 1st, I for one will be first in line to see this on the big screen, as pretty much everything Denis Villeneuve directs is made to be taken in on the biggest screen possible. Always filled with spectacle and masterful camera work, this one will undoubtedly be one of the top films of the year. Number 2, Civil War. Written and directed by Alex Garland, the man behind such films as 28 Days Later, Ex Machina, and Annihilation. The premise sees a team of journalists travel across the United States during a rapidly escalating civil war, tearing the nation apart. Several states succeed and become independent militias, while the government itself is overtaken and becomes some sort of dystopian right-wing dictatorship, using its influence to commit mass violence. It seems there is nowhere safe to be anymore without someone finding an issue and attacking someone over it. Kind of like Twitter. This film will surely be divisive, but that's what's so great about it, as it will challenge people's perspectives and hopefully make them think about what fear and warmongering can eventually lead to. The film is scheduled to release on April 26th and is being produced by A24, so I expect it to do pretty well and see a quick turnaround once it completes its theater run, probably arriving on streaming services by early June. Number 3, Deadpool 3. Now, there have been a lot of leaks surrounding this film, so many that it is almost impossible to avoid them. So for your sake, I'm going to keep most of that out of this entry as to not spoil the film for everyone, and instead give you a general idea of what will happen. Deadpool is, of course, a remnant of the now defunct Fox Marvel line of films. But given that the MCU is all about multiple realities and whatnot, of course, this is how Deadpool will eventually be part of the main continuity. It is also the first MCU film to be given an R rating, in keeping with the previous 2 films. So it's curious to see what kind of backlash that might cause for Disney. However, it is not being directed by Tim Miller, and instead sees Shawn Levy at the helm. Shawn Levy is responsible for films such as Night at the Museum, Free Guy, and The Adam Project. So honestly, I'm a bit iffy about this whole thing. I hope it won't just be a series of pratfalls and Ryan Reynolds motor-mouthing. I kind of want a little bit of substance, since so many of the MCU films in the current phase have failed at building up a significant, cohesive, overarching storyline. With that being said, it is also, as far as we know at the moment, the only MCU film coming out this year. So that's a whole lot of weight on its shoulders. Regardless of your feelings on this film, though, or the MCU, I'm sure it will be quite a talking point when it releases on July 26th. Number 4, Nosferatu. A remake of the classic 1920s German expression film, Robert Eggers, the mastermind behind The Witch and The Lighthouse, brings us what appears to be one of the creepiest and darkest versions of a vampire tale in decades. And it's welcome, especially after the disappointment of the films such as Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield. Bill Skarsgård, the actor who played Pennywise in the 2017 It adaptation, is cast as Count Orlok, the titular vampire of the film. Given Eggers' attempt to period detail, I expect the film to look and feel like a film set in the 14th century, with heavy Old English dialogue and extravagant set pieces. Not too much has leaked from the set, which is a good thing, and I expect a full trailer will probably drop in spring at the earliest. But regardless, this film is scheduled for release on December 25th, Christmas Day. Number 5, Maxine. The third film in the X trilogy by T. West. This will be a more direct sequel of events of X, following Maxine as she moves to Los Angeles in the early 1980s to continue her pursuit of becoming a famous actress. Now, the first film, X, was an homage to the classic 70s horror films, but most notably, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whereas the second film, Pearl, was a prequel following a younger version of the killer woman as she dreamed of becoming famous and killed those who stood in her way. They both feel wildly different from one another, and yet they also believably feel like they're part of the same universe. So I'm curious to see how this one turns out. I'm sure it will involve quite a few brutal deaths as well as extreme sexual situations, so be warned about that before going to see it. An official release date has not been given, but it is slated to come out this year, so keep an eye out for it. Number 6, Night Swim. Based on a short film of the same name, the story revolves around the Waller family after they move into a new house and find that a supernatural presence haunts their swimming pool. This film looks incredibly atmospheric and boasts a pretty decent cast of up-and-coming prominent actors. The score is being composed by Mark Corbin, who also was responsible for the music in another Blumhouse film, The Black Phone. The trailer looks spooky enough. A young girl playing Marco Polo with what could be either her brother or maybe a boyfriend, when suddenly he exits the pool and leaves her alone, and she is then visited by this ghostly entity. It first appears to play with her, but shortly after it tugs on her legs and pulls her under. I'm sure her parents will save her. It would be a shame if her death was spoiled by the trailer, but regardless, I'm looking forward to this film. Scheduled to be released January 5th, so be sure to get your tickets soon. Number 7, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Ghostbusters Afterlife rejuvenated the dormant franchise by bringing back the remaining actors to reprise their classic roles, as well as updating the cast for a modern audience. While some of that film was hit or miss, overall it was a fun experience. And it even had a touching send-off for the late Harold Ramis, who played Egon Spengler in the original duology. This film seems to pick up a few years later, after the family has presumably moved back to New York City, and the mom is either married to or at least living with Paul Rudd's Gary Groberson. Ray, Venkman, and Winston all make appearances as well, and I'm hoping we get to see the classic fire station once again, and the ghost trap machine. The plot looks as if death is coming to collect all the souls / ghosts the Ghostbusters are holding in their traps, and is leaving a path of destruction in its wake. Curious to see what kind of nasty specters we'll get as they team up to take on this new nemesis. This film is scheduled for release on March 29th. Number 8, Beverly Hills Cop: Axel F. This film has toiled in development hell since the mid-90s, when it was supposed to release before the new millennium. It has seen multiple writers and directors drop out over the course of the last 2 decades until fall of 2022, when Mark Malloy was hired to direct, and the film entered full production soon after. The trailer looks promising, seeing Eddie Murphy reprise his role as Axel Foley and transferring back to Beverly Hills from whatever precinct he was stationed at previously. It even sees Judge Reinhold and John Ashton reprise their roles as Billy Rosewood and John Taggart, respectively. Plot details are still unknown and there's no set release date, but it is announced for mid-2024, so we'll probably be looking at an early summer release date. Number 9. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now in the hands of Wes Ball, this film takes place a few centuries or so after the end of War of the Planet of the Apes, and seems to follow Caesar's great-great-great etc. grandson Noah on a journey to unite the various ape clans across the continent into one big nation, similar to the one we see in the original Planet of the Apes films. It seems humans that still exist in the world have gone back to being primitive, living in nomadic tribes and being hunted and enslaved by great ape civilizations. The CG looks a bit wonky in the trailer, but it is still in its development stages, so these could eventually be touched up and look even better when the film officially releases on May 24th. Number 10. Beetlejuice II. It's been a little over 35 years since the first film released and captured audiences' imaginations. Now, Tim Burton, along with Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, reunite to bring us another adventure with the ghastly bioexorcist. I wonder if we'll get to see or find out what happened to the Maitlands, if they went on to the afterlife peacefully, or if they are still haunting that small house in Connecticut. Not much is known about the plot, save that Jenna Ortega will be playing Lydia Dietz's daughter Astrid, and the film is set to take place in England. So I'm curious how this will all lead to Beetlejuice being summoned and causing his signature chaos. Rumors say a trailer should be dropping in February, so I can't wait. And the film officially releases on September 6th. Thanks for checking out the video. What movie are you looking forward to most this year? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We've recently launched our own merch store as well, so be sure to check that out, also linked in the description. I've been your host, Jamie. May all your dreams come true, and have a great year.